Coming up, several teams across baseball finish up sweeps on Thursday. This is Locked On Game to Game MLB.
Every game, every team, every angle. Locked On Game to Game, your team every day.
Welcome in. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. Local experts join us to go over the biggest stories in baseball and recap all of the action for you from yesterday across Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every single weekday. The Tigers scored the only 2 runs of the game in the first inning as Justin Verlander gave up a pair of home runs to his former team. Locked On Tigers recaps Detroit's win against the Mets.
That is a sweep for your Detroit Tigers. I'm Scott Bentley, host of Locked On Tigers, and the Tigers win 2-0 in the series finale against the New York Mets, taking down Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer in this series. Eduardo Rodriguez pitched today and was absolutely brilliant. He's only given up, 2 earned runs in his last 5 outings combined. He is absolutely pitching lights out baseball right now. ERA down to 1.8 on the season, a sub .8 whip. He is absolutely dealing, was locked in again in this one. And offensively, they got up to an early lead. Definitely didn't add to that, right? 2 solo homers in the first inning by Riley Green. Pull side, though. I almost shed a tear. And then Javi Baez with his second homer in as many days as well. And it was enough to hold on for the victory. So we're not going to complain too much. All right, now we got the Cardinals. They're not doing well lately. Let's keep the train rolling. We'll talk about it more tomorrow on Locked On Tigers.
3 solo home runs put the Rays above the Pirates on Thursday night, allowing MLB's best, Tampa, to finish off a sweep of Pittsburgh. Locked On Rays recaps a big series win.
They have done it again. They have swept another series. My name is Ulysses Zambrano, host of the Locked On Rays podcast. Yes, you heard me correctly. The Rays did sweep another series, this time against the Pittsburgh Pirates, who were holding the best record in the National League. But the Rays said, yeah, we don't care about that. We're just going to sweep you anyway. And that's what they did with 3 solo shots from Taylor Walls, Randy Arozarena, and Yandy Diaz. Randy and Yandy now hold the team lead in home runs with 8. Taylor Walls is at 5. What a revelation, the offensive production from all these 3 guys this year. However, Zach Eflin is the MVP of today's game with 7 scoreless innings with 10 punches, only allowing 3 hits and no walks. To hear about the Tampa Bay Rays, who hold the best record in the entire MLB, subscribe to Locked On Rays on YouTube and any other podcast platform.
The Angels finished off a sweep of their own on the road, this time in St. Louis on Thursday. Locked On Angels and Cardinals recap how LA dominated the 3-game set.
The Angels complete the sweep. They've won 4 in a row, and now they sit at 18-14 on the season. What's going on, everybody? It's John Frisch, one half of Locked On Angels. The Halos beat the Cardinals 11-7, winning their 3rd game straight against the Cardinals, their 4th in 4 games, which is great. The first time they've done a sweep or won 4 games this season. Everybody got in on the hit parade in this one. It ended up being 11-7. Griffin Canning pitched 5 innings, 5 runs on the day. But Luis Rengifo, 3 for 4 with a home run, 4 RBIs. Taylor Ward, Matt Dice, they all got in on the hit parade, and it was a great day. The Angels had 16 hits against the Cardinals. And now they head home and play the Rangers in a battle for first place. They got 3 games against Texas. It's going to be a good one this weekend. All that to say, it feels good to get that sweep. Mike and I are going to talk about this one on Locked On Angels. We hope you'll join us wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube.
The hits just kept on coming and coming and coming as the Angels sweep St. Louis. Hey, it's JD from Locked On Cardinals. And the Cardinals did jump out to a 2-run lead in the first inning today, but that's where the good news ended and the nightmare began for starting pitcher Jack Flaherty, who got abused by the Angels offense today. 10 runs, 9 hits, including a 3-run shot by a dude who was hitting .203 with 1 home run coming into the day. And all of that happened in just 2 1/3 inning of work. A day after another soul-crushing loss for the team, the Cardinals needed Jack to show up and get them a win. And instead, they got this type of outing. Even the rally squirrel couldn't help them overcome today's deficit as they slipped to 10-22 on the year, which is the worst record in the National League. For the latest updates and info, be sure to keep it Locked On Cardinals.
Coming up, the Twins take down the White Sox in extras. This is Locked On Game to Game MLB. Today's edition of Locked On Game to Game is brought to you by Sorare. Sorare is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace, transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, Sorare managers truly own their fantasy experience. You collect, buy, sell, and compete with player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards, and there's no cost for you to play. So head over to sorare.com/lockedon. That's spelled SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that's sorare.com/lockedon to start playing today. Welcome back. You're listening to Locked On Game to Game MLB. I'm your host, Kainani Stevens. Thank you again for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. The Twins and White Sox needed 12 innings before Minnesota finally blew things open with 5 runs to take down Chicago. Locked On hosts with both the Sox and the Twins tell you how Minnesota got it done in extras.
The Chicago White Sox lost to the Minnesota Twins 7-3 in 12 innings on the South Side Thursday afternoon. Hey, I'm Nick Morawski from Locked On White Sox. White Sox absolutely gift-wrapped this game, handed it to the Minnesota Twins. Sox were 1 for 16 with runners in scoring position. They had opportunities, 8th inning, 10th inning to score and put this game away. Sox dropped to 10-22 on the season. Lone bright spot, really, Lucas Giolito, another great outing. He went 7 innings, gave up only 1 run on 2 hits. Sox try to get back to their winning ways on Friday in Cincinnati with Lance Lynn on the hill. For more, check out the Locked On White Sox podcast.
Your Minnesota Twins are off to Cleveland after winning a war of attrition in extras over the Chicago White Sox 7-3 on Thursday. This is your Locked On Twins breathless post-game minute as the Twins improved to 18-14 on the season and dropped the White Sox to 10-22. A key error late by Tim Anderson in the 12th inning opens the floodgates as the Twins push across 5 runs in the top of the 12th, winning a game that was a seesaw battle that nobody seemed like they wanted to win. Pablo Lopez and Lucas Giolito were both excellent for their respective teams, but ultimately the game went much deeper than that, with the bullpens being absolutely emptied out as well as the benches. Havani Moran finishes it off with a solid 12th inning of work, and Emilio Pagan grabs the win. For full coverage of this series and a preview of the upcoming Guardians series, make sure to tune in to Locked On Twins.
The Rockies came from behind with a 5-run 8th inning to sweep the Brewers last night. Locked On Rockies has more after the victory in Colorado.
Rock on Rockies fans, Paul Holden here from the Locked On Rockies podcast. It's a sweep. The Colorado Rockies sweep the Milwaukee Brewers after coming back in a game where they were held to 1 hit and down 4 runs. The Colorado Rockies offense finally comes alive, and the Rockies are playing their best baseball of the season. No doubt about it. Pitching hasn't been the best, but it's also been good enough and, in certain situations, great that have helped the Rockies get to this spot. It might not help them get to the top of the NL West. It might not even help them get really all that closer to 500. It's helped the Rockies just look better, feel better, and build a little bit of momentum for the season. Now, a classic test for the Rockies. Good teams on the road. How will the Rockies handle that? Can they keep the winning streak going? Well, the jury's still out on that. We'll talk about it all on Locked On Rockies.
Don't look now, but the Boston Red Sox have now won 6 games in a row after they took all 4 against the Blue Jays in Boston this week. As the Red Sox walk away from the series pretty happy after 4 wins. Richer, the Locked On host with both teams, tell us what led to such domination all week from the home team.
Hello, friends. Craig Ballard, Locked On Blue Jays. Finally, the Blue Jays snap this ugly losing streak. Holy moly. Finally get a win at Fenway Park. Salvage at least one in this series, right? Kevin Gausman, thank you. I knew you would right the ship for the Blue Jays. Well done. 11-5 is the final. What's that? Sorry? Yeah, no, the Blue Jays. Yeah, 11-5. No, I'm talking about that now. That was 11-5 for Boston. The Toronto Blue Jays, who had won 8 games in a row at Fenway Park, lost all 4 games in the series, were swept in the series. What's that? Boston is what? Boston is now past Toronto in the standings. That ain't great.
The offense once again showed up for the Red Sox as they completed the 4-game sweep against the Toronto Blue Jays with a win at Fenway Park on Thursday night. What's going on, everyone? It's Lauren from Locked On Red Sox, and the offense once again doing its job. Jarren Duran had a big night at the plate. Rafael Devers hit his 150th career home run. Masataka Yoshida continued to be a force at the plate, extending his hit streak for the Red Sox. Now, Brian Bayo did struggle a little bit in the 5th inning, but he looked good early on, and at the end of the day, it didn't come back to bite him. There was also 2 amazing plays by Kike Hernandez at shortstop to keep the Toronto Blue Jays off the base path. There's a lot to take away from this game, all positive, thank goodness, and Jake and I will do all of that for you, as well as a special appearance from my dog Roxy on our next episode of Locked On Red Sox.
That's it for this edition of Locked On Game to Game MLB. Thank you for making Locked On your first listen every weekday. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On MLB and your favorite team's Locked On podcast on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts from. I'm Kainani Stevens. This has been Locked On Game to Game.